So I'm not sure if anybody else knows this, but right now the New York Knicks are on a 5 game win streak. They had this tough month of January where they were banged up a little bit. They were losing some games. They were losing some ugly games in some ugly ways. There was a lot of drama going on, locker room stuff, trade talks. Fans got frustrated. Fire this guy. Bring back this guy. I think we know who we're talking about. Trade this guy. I think we know who we're talking about there. All this stuff. Bench this guy. All of this stuff. And like I always say, it's one of my favorite cliches that you hear all the time in sports. Never get too high, never get too low. Um, Knicks fans are great. New York sports fans are great. The number one thing they're absolutely terrible at is executing that cliche, if that makes sense. They're always going to get too high and they're always going to get too low. And I feel like we did cross that line during that bad stretch where they were 2-8 across 10 games. Right? Was that what it was? Whatever it was, they finished January 7-8. So for their worst month of the season, something that went so horrifically wrong, it's not that bad. So they've currently won 5 in a row. They have the 2 seed back again. And I just hope we are calm because it's going to be okay. I'm not guaranteeing a championship. I don't think anybody should be. But what I am saying is let's take this thing day by day and let's just watch some friggin' basketball. Because that was an exceptional win last night. And it's just good to see some of these good things start to make its way back. The offense is reheating. The defense is on a tear. Again, they're getting healthy. They're, knock on wood, fully healthy. And they put together an outstanding performance, and they keep stringing together these blowout victories. And that's what you should be doing to these types of teams. So last night was a 127-97 win for the Knicks over the Portland Blazers at Madison Square Garden. Really good efforts all around again. I thought the first unit individually, please highlight individually, was good. OG, Hart, Brunson all had 20 points plus. Cat with another 20 plus rebound effort. Mikal Bridges was outstanding on the defensive end, even if he didn't provide offense. The second unit I thought was good. Diawara was good. We'll talk about him. Mitchell Robinson was good. Tyler Kolek with the bounce back game. Tyler Kolek, who had been struggling for a while, has been playing better basketball. You know, for a while there, just ball pressure was getting to him. Couldn't get where he wanted, couldn't get to a shot, couldn't find the right guys with these aggressive coverages. And last night I thought he was Tyler Kolek. Court vision, craftiness, the shot, shooting with confidence, knocking him down was 3 out of 5. But besides all of that, I think it'd be disrespectful and just wouldn't give the Knicks enough credit if we started anywhere else but defense. Because for a team that, man, I have given them so much crap. You have given them so much crap. Every single Knicks fan watching this team, whether it be if you're an everyday watcher or if you just watch them casually, whatever, it's always they got to tighten up the defense. I don't know if they can play enough defense. This team can't play defense. It's always about the defense. And we have been here before where the Knicks are on a good defensive stretch and some of us want to buy in and then they end up going back to where, we've seen them go to being this bottom third defense. So I'm not going to try and jump the gun here, but I'm just going to read off some numbers. And cleaning the glass is what I like to use, because on cleaning the glass, they filter out garbage time. It's just much more efficient. But that's down. Their website's down today. At least for me it is. So using NBA.com, the New York Knicks are now back up to 12th in the NBA in defense. Remember, this was a defense that was, I think, as low as 24 at some point this year, or very close to there. They're 12th in defense now. They are just 1/10 of a point back of Boston, who's ahead of them. They're just 1 point back of Miami from getting into the top 10. And this one's really, really wild. They're less than 2 points back of Phoenix and Minnesota for being top 5 in defense. Just 2 points per 100 possessions back. Less than that from being top 5. This defense. They have held their opponent under 100 for 3 consecutive games. You go back to the last 7, they're first in the NBA in defense with a 98 defensive rating. And you can stretch that back to their last 10, where they're still first in defense. Now, again, none of these teams that they're playing right now are offensive-minded teams. In fact, all of these teams they've been playing during this 7-game stretch of a 98 defensive rating, all these teams have been 15th or worse in offense. But they're clearly making a physical effort to be more locked in, to be more attentive off the ball, not just on the ball. And it's much more noticeable how much they're locking in. I think when it got as low as where it was, a week and a half ago, or whatever you want to start from, when it got as bad as it was and all the drama and the noise was as loud as it could be, I think that, that players only meeting, whatever you want to call it. I never usually look into those, but there was something that clearly, clicked, and they just, we can't have it go down like this. We need to pick it up, and we can't let it get any worse. Because it got bad, to where there were real rumblings of, is Brown going to lose his job? James Dolan left his seat. You know what happened last time he left his seat in the second half? Like, there were real shits going on. But last night, another obvious effort from the Knicks defensively. And yes, they scored damn near 130 points. They didn't win the game behind that because they scored 40 points in the fourth quarter when the game was already way over. Defense won them this game. And, OG played some good defense. Mitchell Robinson played some good defense. Even your poor defenders I thought were fine. Shamet played good defense. Hart in the second half I thought played better defense. Mikal Bridges, again, the 10 points, 3 for 10 shooting, whatever. Okay. Who cares? One of my favorite performances from him of the year. Getting exactly what the Knicks paid for in this game. Just a phenomenal help defender, and man, was that on display. Looking through the numbers, he had 3 steals. All 3 of them came in the second half. He had a steal in gap help. He had a steal at the basket off pick and roll. He had another steal in the fourth quarter. The amount of deflections, though, that he got, just disrupting every single pass, every time the Blazers were trying to get any kind of rhythm offensively, Mikal Bridges was there to say, that's not going to happen. The what's his name? Drawing a blank, but the finger wag. How do I not know? I know who he is. Mutombo. Dikembe Mutombo. R.I.P. That was Mikal Bridges with deflections last night. Just no. You're not getting shit by me. So that's why he's the thumbnail pick on YouTube. He got the Timbs and the hard hat last night from Mike Brown or whoever hands that out. And that is exactly the kind of performance that the Knicks need from their top wing or one of their top wings. When the Knicks brought in Mikal Bridges, again, forget the offense. We know he can give you some efficient offense when he's on. It's the defense. This whole idea of wing stop. Mikal and Anunoby are supposed to be these guys that anchor the defense. Because if they're underachieving on that end, then this whole thing falls apart because they're supposed to compensate for the Brunson Cat duo on the defensive end. They're supposed to make it more doable. And so when they're on their games like they were, like OG was in Toronto and like Mikal was last night, that's the formula. That's the recipe. That's going to be what carries the Knicks to glory if they get there. So I thought the defensive effort last night was outstanding, and it was absolutely led by Mikal Bridges. On the glass, thought the guys held it down. The Knicks were a plus 15 on the boards overall. Karl Anthony Towns, 20 rebounds in 29 minutes. He now has 42 rebounds in the last 2 games, and I think over his last 8. Let me see if I have it on my notes. He's averaging 15 rebounds. I'm going to see how long of a stint that is. Had it on my notes. I never put it down on the screen here, though. Yep. Karl Towns, if you're rounded off, in his last 8 games is averaging 15 rebounds per game. So some would say that's pretty good. But he had 20 rebounds in 29 minutes last night. Cat and Mitch combined for 10 offensive rebounds last night. Hart had a couple of offensive rebounds. The Knicks were a plus 8 in second chance points because of that. So, again, that ties into defense. You know, it's not just creating second opportunities on offense, but defensive rebounding, that's ending possessions. That's saying, okay, you're done. You're not getting another bite at the apple. Now it's our turn. And I just thought I'd start with the defense because the offense, for as funny as this is going to sound, even though they scored 127 points, it was kind of problematic, especially in that first half. But there were times when it was just not good. And I hate to keep, beating the same drum and whatnot, but we talk about this all the time. When Josh Hart is sharing the floor with Karl Anthony Towns and Mitch is not out there, technically Josh Hart's your center on the offensive end. And we talk about this, the cross-matching stuff all the time. Too much. But, it's going to be a problem for as much as it's going to be forced on us. Because when Hart is on the floor and Mitch is not on the floor, that center is going to be on Josh Hart. They're going to cross-match. And when the center is on Hart, you can't run your Brunson cat pick and roll. Brunson doesn't have the big to isolate in space off the switch because they're not going to switch him. Well, they're not gonna put the big on Cat so Brunson can get that switch. No, they're just gonna switch it with 2 wings. Cat doesn't get the big and drop off pick and pop. Cat doesn't get an open 3 because they switch it. The paint gets clogged up because the big's in help. He's gonna pre-rotate off Hart. You're gonna have post-up issues if you try to post Cat up because if Hart's weak side, there's your backside help. All those things happen when Hart's out there with Cat. And Hart had a nice game last night. He had 20 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, a block. He was 8 for 13 from 2. Was a plus 8 in the box score, 30 minutes played. Did some good things. He was pushing the ball in transition to avoid those cross matches and help coverages at times. I thought there were moments where he did some good things when he was cross-matched and when he was ignored. He took some open threes. A few times he drove into space and he kicked it out. First quarter, I thought there was a nice action where he was flare screening on the other side of the court out of a horn set to get downhill for a drive. Second quarter, he pops, takes a 3-pointer off the pick and roll. It's a pick and pop. Portland blitzes the pick and roll. They blitz the ball. So instead of rolling into traffic, he pops into the space that was given to him, and he takes the three. That was nice. But those are just a couple of possessions because it was still way too much. It was still way too much negatives from those lineups. It was the reason the Knicks cooled off in the first quarter. It was the reason that Portland was able to pull this game to within single digits at halftime. And when the Knicks did get some good offense with the starting lineup, it was in the top of the third quarter where they were pushing in the full court to avoid those half-court possessions so the defense didn't have time to set up. And it was in the fourth quarter during garbage time. But there was a lot of moments during last night's game where I'm watching and I'm like, this thing can't keep happening. In the first quarter, a couple possessions where, you had one where OG's driving to the basket. Hart is spaced out on the strong corner. Klingen's helping all the way off Hart. He's waiting at the basket for OG. OG ends up making the tough shot, but it's not ideal offense. In the second quarter, Bridges drives off pick and roll. Hart was the screener. Portland doubles the drive because you're not going to double the screener if it's Josh Hart. Mikal has to take a contested mid-range shot, misses it. And Josh Hart himself, we talk about this all the time, he needs to be willing to take those open threes. And last night, he passed up way too many threes, open looks. Top of the first quarter, he passed up an open three, drove into traffic for a miss. In the middle of the second quarter, he did the same exact thing. Late in the second quarter, a couple of possessions in a row. One of them, he passes up an open three, just makes a pointless, swing pass on the perimeter. He was wide open, should have took it to begin with. And then I think it was the next time down, again, Mikal, he drives off pick and roll, Hart's the screener. Portland doubles the drive, or they're kind of in a drop, but the drop defender's on the other side of it to leave Hart. Hart, instead of popping into space, rolls into traffic. Just can't do that. You got to be willing to pop and take those threes. In a game where Portland was literally ignoring him, playing 4-on-5 or 5-on-4, just one of the more aggressive coverages off of Josh Hart all season, there's no excuse for Josh Hart to finish with just 4 3-point attempts. He should have had at least 8 or 9, maybe 10 in this game with how open he was. An open three is much more efficient and much better than a contested 2 or late clock offense. So it's stuff like that cannot keep happening, and they do keep happening. Mike Brown, he's a nice guy. Overall, I think he's done some good, but I think he's done some bad. I think he's been pretty so-so, and I like some things that he does. Like, he wants to play a certain style, and the style that he wants to play, in theory, is very good and is very modern and streamlined, and it makes a lot of sense. But Mike Brown wants to play a certain style, but the lineups that he keeps forcing out there doesn't reflect that. He should be trying to maximize your best players. It's important to play Brunson and Cat with space, with the right matchups. That's why Hart should be with Mitchell Robinson, because they both play really well together. They mesh. They've got the same styles. But when they play together, and Cat's not in those lineups, that means Cat's got more time to play the 5, which is what we want. But when Cat's out there with Hart, offensively, Cat's at the 4, and defensively, he's at the 5. That's the polar opposite of what you want. And remember, it's not just like the reason that teams cross-match Hart and Cat, probably mostly for Hart, but it's not because Cat, like, they're not worrying about Cat with a small or a wing on him. That's been an issue. Obviously, you can't use Cat in pick and roll when he's cross-matched because, again, it's an auto switch with the wing. But Cat's never been amazing, never been too comfortable when he's got a wing or a small on him. The Knicks don't post a lot to begin with. It's not part of their offense, but he's never been comfy with smalls on him. And so this, in my opinion, is why I think it's very important to lean into 5-out lineups a lot more than Mike Brown has this year. So you can include Cat in the offense. So you can use him as a hub up top. So you can get him open three-point looks. This is the best shooting big man of all time, or one of them, if you don't think he is the. You have to take advantage of that. So it's just, it continues to be the same topic. I understand it might be boring to talk about, but it's one of my biggest problems for a couple years now. Here's a fun stat for you. This is from the guys at Hot Hand Theory on Twitter. That first unit, the one we've all been talking about for 2 years now, going on 2 years, that first unit has played more minutes combined than Brunson, Mikal, OG, Cat, Mitch, than Brunson, Deuce, Mikal, OG, Mitch, than Brunson, Deuce, Hart, Mikal, Mitch, than Brunson, Deuce, Mikal, OG, Cat. Those 4 lineups combined still haven't played enough as that first unit has played by itself. It's not good, man. And earlier in the year, like, you saw some flexibility with the rotations. It's just slowed down a bit, and it's very frustrating because it makes the offense have to do a lot more work. Now, despite all this, I did see some good things. I mean, they scored 127, right? I liked the job the Knicks were doing to get Brunson clean looks regardless. Jalen Brunson finishes this game 26 points. They were getting him good looks. And I want to talk about how and why when we get back from break here. Real quick here on episode 986 of the podcast. Stay with us. Be right back.
Quick break here, guys. Stay connected with BD4 on social media. Follow us on Instagram and X at BD4Pod, and find us on Facebook by searching BD4. Don't miss out. Join the conversation. Want more BD4? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and never miss an episode. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and share with your fellow fans. Don't forget to ring that bell so you're always the first to know when a new video drops.
Okay, welcome back to the podcast. I appreciate you all tuning in. Episode 986 of the show. I appreciate it, guys. The Knicks were doing a really good job getting Brunson some good clean looks last night. They had him off the ball, weak side actions, off screens, back screens, rip screens, DHO, just a ton of things to get him efficient looks. He was using Mitchell Robinson very effectively last night to just create himself some space and get those clean looks. And you saw that effort right out the gate in the first quarter. Like, there were multiple possessions. There was one, and shout out to Shaq's NBA. He put this clip on Twitter. It was in the middle of the first. Brunson gets a clean three-point look off the ball. It's a sideline out of bounds play. Brunson goes to Mitch, who's on the pinch post, elbow three-point line. Hart's on the strong corner. Brunson goes to set a rip screen for Hart to cut down off that rip screen. Both Hart's man follows him, and Brunson's man tries to tag Hart, so Hart draws 2 on the cut. This opens up Brunson, who comes back up top and flows into a DHO with Mitch for a 3. Really good action. I would like to see them run that more. Not sure what it's called, but again, if you go to @Shaq's NBA on Twitter, he probably has the action named. But that was one of the cooler possessions. And there was another one later in the first quarter. Brunson slips a rip screen, comes off Mitch at the top again, receives a pass from Shaman on the opposite side, and attacks the big who's in drop coverage. You know, just getting him off. They've run floppy for him a lot. He's been in floppy a lot more recently, I want to say. They haven't gone to that a ton this year, but like over the last month or so, they've run a lot of floppy where Brunson's coming up from underneath, gets by his screen, and that's how they free him open. There was he runs another action. It's like a zoom action with Mitch up top, pin and a handoff. Like, just really good connection with Brunson and Mitch. They've always played well together. And when Brunson was on the ball, because of his gravity, he was doing a nice job forcing help. This way you can beat Portland in the numbers game, have his teammates score. But overall, I thought it was a good effort to get Brunson good looks. And he was very bought into the system and the pace, which remains important. They're going to need their point guard. I know listen, the way Brunson operates and the way he's played for this team since he's been here, he's used to being more slow, more methodical. Sticking with this pace where you're playing fast, it's important for a number of reasons, and we always talk about these reasons, and I don't want to get too deep into them because I don't want to keep repeating the same stuff, but getting into the half court with 20 plus seconds, important, so you can have multiple actions in one possession. Playing fast off of a defensive stop, important, because if you have Hart out there and Hart's got the defense doesn't have time to set that matchup up if you're playing in the full court. So many reasons that you need to play fast in order for this offense to thrive. And I thought last night Brunson did a nice job buying into that. But for as good as Brunson was, I think I have to hand over the game ball to OG Anunoby. And it's crazy because it didn't feel like a very loud OG game. I thought he could have been even better defensively. He wasn't amazing. But you look up and 24 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. He had a block, shot 10 for 16. He was 4 for 8 from 3, 6 of 8 on his twos. Was a plus 34 in the box score, team high, 31 minutes played. 6 game balls now on the season. Again, the defense was, I guess, fine, but what I loved from OG last night was the 3-pointers. The shots starting to return. Now the volume is important. What I loved most was that he took 8 3-point attempts last night. You need more of that. Keep taking those. He was 4 for 8, but the 8 is the number I love. But the shot making is starting to return after a rough stretch, right? There was a stretch there from December 29th to January 19th. It's a little less than a month, 12-game stretch where he was 26% on his threes. Since then, in his last 5 games, he's 52%. It's good to see that come back. The shot looks good coming out of his hands. He's quicker to shoot off the catch. Shows that he's got the confidence flowing again. Just looks a lot more smoother coming out of his hands. And again, to get those corner threes up in volume is huge. Not just so you can keep up with the opponent, but him simply spacing on the corner creates an open lane because you have to stay home to him. So, OG Anunoby, nice job knocking down the shots. And you go to the bench unit, I thought from the second unit, could have went to a couple of guys, but I'm going to hand Mo Diawara his first game ball. 10 points last night, 3 assists or 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. He was 4 for 8, 2 for 5 from 3, 2 of 3 from 2, plus 27 to lead the bench, 17 minutes. Loved that he was the go-to guy, not Yabusele. I thought he had a good game. I thought he showed some skills when he had the ball. That's what you like seeing from him. He's got some skills when he's handling the ball. For a guy who's a big wing, few pick and rolls with Huck Porty as ball handler. Late in the fourth quarter, he puts the ball on the floor out of pick and roll, attacks the open space, knocks down a floater. There was one when he again, another pick and roll with Huck Porty, drives off the screen, draws 2, makes an inside pocket pass to Huck Porty for a dunk. And then one at the very end of the fourth, snakes the pick and roll, creates space, step back jumper, knocks it down. If the shot starts to come around, the 3-point shot, you got yourselves possibly a rotation player in the future. Knocked down 2 open elbow threes to beat his defender and help. That's all he has to do. Just knock down open looks, give an effort on D. And I love that look where Brown runs Mikal, OG, and Diawara together. You want to talk about insane wingspan? You want to talk about wingstop? That's cool. You add Mitch to that in the back. You can do some creative things if he starts knocking down those shots. So, going to hand the game ball to him from the second unit. But, yeah, overall, it was a fun win. That's it for this Portland game. Up next for your Knicks, They've got the Lakers tomorrow night, 7 p.m. at MSG. Let's hope to keep building on this. That would be a fun win. That one's got some potential to be really, really good for them. So we'll see what happens. With that said, we'll get to our final break really quickly and then get back and wrap it up with our trivia question. Stay with us. Be back in a sec.
Love BD4 but don't have the time to sit down and watch? Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the show, leave us a 5-star rating and a quick review. It helps us grow and keeps the conversation going.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to episode 986 of the pod. Last night, Jalen Brunson crossed 10,000 career points, with 6,720 of them coming as a Knick. Where does that rank him on the franchise's all-time scoring list? Top 20, top 30, or top 40? So one more time, I'll say it. Jalen Brunson just crossed 10,000 career points, with 6,720 coming as a Knick. Where does that rank him on the franchise's all-time scoring list? Top 20, top 30, top 40? Let me know. I appreciate it. That's it. That's all we got for this episode. I appreciate you all tuning in as always. And nice to win 5 in a row. So hopefully it can be 6. Lakers tomorrow night. It's finally, I'm happy that, there's no football tomorrow, so I'm happy the Knicks are on so I can watch something. Because I sure as shit don't watch that Pro Bowl. Some weird shit. I don't even know what they do nowadays. But I'll be watching the Knicks tomorrow, and I hope you guys enjoy. As for tonight, I'm going to go watch this UFC card. That's what I'm going to do. See you soon. Hey guys, thank you for listening to BD4. Be sure to follow us on social media, subscribe to us on YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time.